Pasapay chaya romani na lainga kama. Pasapay chaya romani na lainga kama. Yo mamo, yo mamo, man pani mamo, man pani mamo, man pani. Yo mamo, yo mamo, man pani mamo, man pani mamo, man pani. Pasapay beșe la corcari prema ujarela. Pasapay beșe la corcari prema ujarela. Jamamo jui mamo, man pani mamo, man pani mamo, man pani. Jamamo jui mamo, man pani mamo, man pani mamo, man pani. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oliver Rajamani, and I hope you're doing well today. I'm a musician. I travel around the globe performing my music. It's all original music mostly, and but one of the important productions I have is called Flamenco India, and so we're going to talk a little bit about flamenco, the history and the storyline behind it. And then I'll show you a little bit, very simple instructional section of how to play a rumba rhythm on flamenco. So we'll start off with just flamenco, where it's from. Now, flamenco is from south of Spain, from a region called Andalusia. And it has evolved there over a few hundred years. But flamenco itself, even though it's born in south of Spain and it's an art form from south of Spain, its story actually doesn't start there. Its original story, or its roots, it goes way back. Because that region of Andalusia was settled by many, many different cultures and people. There were the Arabs and Moorish people bringing their cultures. There were the Jews who had the Sephardic Jewish music and their culture and religion. There were obviously the native Iberians or Spaniards who had their folk songs and dances. There was also influence from the African people. And but the most important people that gave flamenco its voice and its style of what we know of flamenco today are the Gitanos, or the commonly in English called gypsies. Now, gypsies, a term which has been used for hundreds of years, and it's a kind of a misrepresentative name that was given to these people. Because when these people arrived in Europe in the late 14th century, people in Europe thought they were coming from Egypt, and so they called them Egyptian or Gitanos or Gypsy. That's where that term comes from. They thought they were from Egypt, and so they started calling them Egyptian or Gypsy. But now we know that the Gitanos didn't come from Egypt. They originally came from India. They migrated from India, arrived in Europe in the 14th century. Flamenco's storyline, though, comes from south of Spain. It stretches all the way back into the Middle East, all the way into India because of the Gitanos, where they came from. And now flamenco has a lot of influences, like Arabic music influences. It has other Moorish native Iberian influences, folk songs, which were added much later into flamenco. But these were all elements that were drawn by the Gypsy community or Gitanos who were living in Spain, and blended all those sounds into their own music or flamenco to attain a very hybrid sound. And so flamenco and India. So flamenco and India are connected deeply through people, the Gitanos. Language, Romani. Now, Romani is a language spoken by the Gitanos. That's the original language of the Gypsy people, which has its origins in India. Now, the song I sang earlier in this video is a traditional Romani song, and I was playing more of a rumba rhythm to it, and that Romani language links also the Gypsies of Europe to India. Although most Gypsies in Spain don't speak Romani, they speak a dialect called Calo, which is a kind of a dying dialect in some ways, because when the Romani people arrived, the Spanish government forbid them to speak Calo. And Calo is basically the same language as Romani, but it has Arabic loanwords in it. So wherever the Gypsies settled in Europe, they adopted, languages and words and styles and created their own kind of culture out of it. And simply put, this is kind of a simple explanation of the history of flamenco. I mean, obviously it has a lot more elements and details to it, which would take a long time to talk about here, but this would give you some sort of idea on how the music evolved, as well as the dance. If you can see the dance forms, you can see the Indian dance movements, footwork and all that. And you can also see Spanish, traditional Spanish folk dances like the alegrias, which is a style in flamenco, sevillanas. Those are all very Spanish folk song oriented styles that came from the traditional Spanish communities, which were later added into flamenco because they were interpreted by the Gypsies. They adopted those things and interpreted those styles. So let's come back to this rumba rhythm. So I'm going to make this really simple, and this is for someone who wants to just kind of learn just very, very extreme basic knowledge of how to play maybe flamencos. So mainly I'm going to focus on the right hand, because the right hand is what makes flamenco really complex and unique. The left hand is pretty much, you can add pretty much any chords. I mean, obviously there are particular chords to flamenco that are used, but there are a lot of basic chords other chords you can use. So in this, I'm just going to use the very kind of common progression for Gypsy music, which is A minor, G major, F major, and E major. And you can vary it by adding these pinky in there, or playing it as a seventh. So those are the variations you can. So let's come to the right hand. So the very simple way, so I'm going to show you a rumba rhythm and just a kind of party music, simple rhythm. And rumba is actually a rhythm that comes from the African communities. And the history of this, how it evolved into flamenco, came into flamenco, is that the Spaniards, when they had a lot of slaves from Africa, they brought back a lot of music from South America, and also there were African people that were living in uh, ancient old Spain, and they had their music and culture. So through these kind of connections, rumba came into being, and it was adopted into flamenco by the gypsies, and became part of flamenco. And a good popular band is rumba flamenco band is the Gypsy Kings. Now, coming to the right hand, so we're going to go really first. I'm going to have you just play holding all your fingers. We're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. And you can raise it faster if you like, eventually. So this is very important in flamenco, this down, up movement. Now what we're going to add is we're going to add the golpe, or the striking of the guitar here. So we're going to strike it like that, and we're going to go, so as we're going like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hit, up, down, up, 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 hit, up, down, up. Now we're going to add the thumb. We're going to go like this. So we're going to go 1, hit, up, down, up, down, up, hit, up, down, up, down, up, hit, up, down, up, down, up, thumb, 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 up. So if you notice, I'm moving the thumb side to side like that, and your wrist has to be really relaxed. And so let's do this one more time. Hit, up, down, up, down, up, thumb, up, hit, up, down, up, down, up, thumb, up. So we would go faster. Hit, up, down, up, down, up, thumb, up, hit, up, down, up, down, up, thumb, up, hit, up, down, up. And then if we want to add chords, we're going to start off with that A minor, hit, up. follow this video, stop it whenever you like, and just practice those patterns. And as I said, these are all very simple patterns, and some patterns I also just do the way I do it, and that's part of flamenco. Flamenco is a very creative, evolving art form, so there's always people doing new things, but there is a basic structure to it. And I'm going to show you one more rhythm on the right hand. Same thing, rumba, just a different way of playing it. This is a little more complicated the way I was playing it for this song. It went like this. So if you notice, I'm adding 2 thumbs. So the pattern on the right hand for this would be hit, up, down, down, hit, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, 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 hit, up, down, down, up, down, down. So it would go. Hit, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, hit, up, down, 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 up, hit, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, hit, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So, those are 2 very simple right hand techniques you can use to play rumba flamenco. There are many ways of playing this rhythm. Different people play it different ways. There's a lot of videos online you can also watch, and you can also visit my website, oliverrajamani.com or flamencoindia.com to learn more about Flamenco India and its story. And I really hope you enjoyed this short session of learning about the history of flamenco and learning a few things about how to play flamenco, rumba flamenco guitar.